Back for podcast number 2. Renee, it's good to see you again. It's
Good to see you,
been
Paul.
about 2 weeks since we filmed the last one, and somehow I'm wearing the same shirt. But we're going to continue our conversation just about strange things that have come across our practices. Do you have like a really bizarre, strange incident that you can sort of share with me?
I have a sort of a interesting little anecdote.
Let's hear it.
In our area of practice, going to trial means probably 99% of the time in front of a jury.
Yep.
So I had a client, and he was eccentric. He was an eccentric individual. He was injured in the accident for sure. We still hadn't settled the case, and we were gearing up, fully prepping for trial. And this gentleman had the iciest eyes. They were this, in any other circumstance, they would be considered very beautiful, okay? They were very icy greenish blue.
Okay.
But his personality he was eccentric, and his claims were it was going to be based on whether, the outcome of the trial would be based on whether the jury could relate to him and whether they could get past his eccentric, personality. And so one of the things in preparing for the trial, I insisted that he get contact lenses that were brown. Seriously, because his eyes were unsettling with his personality. At least that was my perception, and I wanted a jury to be as comfortable as they possibly could be.
How do you have that conversation with your client that your eyes are unsettling?
I didn't say that.
That's why I want to know.
I have, my powers of persuasion are not just in front of juries.
So the southern accent helps a little bit,
Well,
I bet.
yes. I just thought that was maybe a really good idea.
Yeah.
And, my job is to make sure the jury liked this individual, and I was going to recommend anything I possibly could to, further that cause. And he had no problem.
Oh, really?
No, he was not offended. He was like, I'll do it, no problem.
So he went in and got the contacts?
Yeah. I mean, fortunately, we settled before we had to go to trial. But he was not offended, and that's what we would have done had we gone all the way through the trial.
Now, he didn't need contacts, though, did he? So these were just to change the color of his eye?
These were non-prescriptive. These would just be...
Wow.
Yes. It's just like, some clients, you'll give them a good haircut, give them a new suit.
Yep.
And
you had to give him new eyes.
Yeah. In this case, his eyes were unsettling, and I just didn't think it was going to go well.
Was it a good settlement?
Yes, it was.
All right, good.
Yes, it was.
And how old a client was this?
He was in his 40s, upper 40s.
So was he married?
No.
Do you know if he kept the contacts in and might have helped him in dating later on?
Don't know. Didn't follow up on that.
But maybe the eyes were so unique it probably was, like you said, outside the courtroom, not unsettling.
No, they were beautiful eyes.
Okay.
It's just with his personality,
Fair enough. Well, I got to tell you, so that, we've chatted over the years, and I've got some unique litigation. And in 2003, I got involved with the 9/11 litigation that's in the States for the families of those who were killed in the World Trade Center and on the planes on 9/11. And so there were two stories. The first one is in August of 2003. People in the Northeast. Because I know everyone, and this podcast is going everywhere, and I know everyone in the Northeast who's watching will remember the Great Blackout in August of 2003. Well, one of the associates comes yelling into my office, "This is your fault, we're under attack by terrorists," and then suddenly you hear someone say, "I just looked at the internet," because there was no Google then. I just looked at the internet. It's everywhere in the Northeast, so I wasn't in too much trouble. But then, probably about October or November of 2003, and if you remember, there were a lot of anthrax scares around that time. And I mean, anthrax was being sent to the House of Representatives and Senate and elsewhere. And at my old office, we had sort of this back door that you needed a code to get in and out of, and it led to the washrooms because we had most of the floor. And the back door was left open, ajar by this package, like, this big, small package, brown paper wrapping on it. And it didn't have an address or anything on it. Like, I remember that. And so you start walking around. Does anyone know why the door's open? Whose package is that? Nobody knows. And because the anthrax scares were going on, we start getting nervous. And so the receptionist speaks to, I think, one of the partners, or maybe I did, and they said, call security and call the police.
Right.
All right. We're not taking any risks. Well, police come up. Security's up there, and one of my partners comes out of the boardroom. His meeting is over and says, what's going on? And I said, listen, we're not sure. There was a package keeping this door open, and it really freaked us out because of all the anthrax scares. He goes, that's my package. I just left it there for the adjuster to go in and out of the washroom.
Oh my God.
And I gotta tell you, people were like just relieved and then really mad at me again for taking that litigation on. It was scary though. I mean, I've had a couple times where police have been called that, and yeah, I'm starting to think maybe it's me, not anyone else.
Well, I was going to say, you seem to be the common denominator,
yeah,
right?
I mean, there was a time that I got I don't know if this has ever happened to you. Like, we've all had crazy things happen, but I got a letter in the mail. And this is probably 04, 05, 06, something like that. And I was acting for a guy who was subsequently put in jail. He broke his leg in a car accident or crossing the street. A pretty badly broken leg. And I get a letter basically from either his cellmate or a friend of his in jail saying, when you settle this case, all the bleeping money is to be deposited into my account or you're a dead man walking. I'm sorry? Okay, and I mean, I've got young kids at the time. I'm a little bit worried about this letter, and so we call the police. And police come to my house and sit down with my wife and I, my wife at the time, and basically they say, this is not a hoax. This was very serious. We know who it is, so we're going to go deal with him, but we don't know who he has on the outside.
Oh, right.
And they said, how do you go to and from work? I said, well, I walk to the subway and take the subway. Okay, that's good, because lots of people.
Right.
And I remember them saying, that's loss of witnesses, that's good. But when you get to the office, do you take the same route up to your office? I said, yes. They said, you can't anymore. You've got to change your route in and out of the office. Lunchtime, you don't know who's going to be following you.
Right.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
Like, this was we're not talking about a catastrophic case where it's hundreds and hundreds and millions, whatever. This is a broken leg.
Right.
And it was so scary until the police called probably a week later saying, we've got him. There's no one following you. But my God.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't sign up for that.
No.
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 You ever get a letter from jail? Like from a client saying...
Not from a client.
But it's like, it was so scary. And it's like, this isn't normal.
Right.
Like,
right.
there's some wackages. Like, have you had a crazy client? Have you had a crazy client that you just couldn't control?
I mean, I have.
Okay.
I have had crazy clients. Most of... And I say crazy, I want to, with the caveat of, with the grace of respect, because
yes.
A lot of our clients, through no fault of their own, the trauma that they experience in accidents can send them on a trajectory, and it's just really leads them down a mental breakdown path.
Sure.
And they're unstable.
Right.
And so I have tremendous compassion for those individuals. It doesn't mean, however, that they aren't difficult to deal with. Not all of them are difficult to deal with.
Right.
And I mean, on the one hand of it, you know, with my nursing experience, you know, I feel like I have some experience under my belt in the medical sphere to be able to deal with individuals who are in crisis, may be different than someone else might be.
Absolutely.
Also, I'm in my 60s. Life experience.
You're not in your 60s.
I am in my
Come
60s.
on.
Oh, give me a break. You know me. So you know, life experience teaches you a whole lot. But, you know, it never ceases to amaze me at the destruction that trauma from an accident can, you know, cause or be the result of an accident, and how the destruction works through families and everything else. And so some of our clients, you know, do become mentally unstable. Their behavior becomes unstable. They can become a danger to themselves and others, as you know, and that takes a lot of listening. It takes a lot of hand-holding, and also knowing when to intervene.
Right.
It's, you know, through their treatment team,
Sure.
or you know, or whatever the case may be.
Like, I do remember, it was pre-COVID for sure. And I'm not sure if you were here, but one of our partners, had a client come in who was really struggling mentally. And I recall, like, I think it was he, was threatening to commit suicide in our office. Like, it was so scary.
Yeah.
It was so scary. And then I think he left, and we weren't sure, do we call the police? He needs a Form 1, meaning that he needs to get some help right away. But that was like, these are the types of things. Like, you would have way more experience just dealing because of your nursing experience, but something that none of us signed up for or had any training in. And you just do the best you can to calm the situation.
Yeah, but the interesting thing is, but didn't we sign up for it? We did sign up for it because we're plaintiff personal injury lawyers. This is an innate part of our practice of law. But they don't teach us anything about how to handle those situations in law school.
For sure. And then you see, and I say this now because I'm slightly younger than you, but not much, that...
I look younger, but
you look way younger than me. Okay, but, you know, I was thinking, I started practicing right around the time I was 30. So I was a little bit older too. There is no way when I was 24, 25, 26, I would have had the capacity, the empathy, the sympathy to talk to someone that was seriously injured. And because they don't teach you that.
no.
And
But it's maturity and experience.
And our young lawyers, fortunately, they learn from us. They see how we talk with them, with the clients, and hopefully they learn that way. But the idea of having a 26-year-old having a client threatening to commit suicide is horrifying. It's really scary because none of us have, you know, a psychology degree. Well, I don't think any of us do.
No.
None of us practice in psychology, and you have to be part psychologist when you're dealing with these clients. And anyone who's been seriously injured, or, you know, because this is the most important thing, whether it's a very serious injury or not a very serious injury in your mind, in their mind, it is.
Absolutely.
And it's the most important thing in their life, and you have to treat it like that for any of them, because we don't know what's going on day to day in the background.
No.
You know?
I mean, we don't. But I think that's why, you know, building that relationship with our clients from day one.
Yes.
You know, staying in touch with them. When they're going through a crisis, sometimes a crisis can be, my accident benefits insurer has denied all my treatment.
Right.
They're in crisis because they need the care.
Right.
You know, walking them through, finding practical solutions to what's going on that will take some of that emotional stress off them
Right.
can be part of the solution.
Yep.
But you really have to be creative, and you have to be finely tuned to what it is they're experiencing.
Right.
If you're going to be able to provide them with any relief or assistance in getting through that period, because there's many crises, within the life of a case.
But and now, I mean, you have that practice where you have a lot of motor vehicle,
Yes.
and so you have the accident benefits, and you might have an LTD policy,
Yep.
you know, some forms of benefits. But then you've now branched out into the mass tort world, where it's a medical device, let's say,
Right.
for a couple hundred people,
Sure.
and there is no safety net.
No.
And so their crisis is very different than those who have benefits. And so I would imagine that's a very delicate way to deal with it. I don't have that so much. I've just got the individual clients on cases with no benefits. So I mean, how do you deal with that? I mean, it's very different.
You mean, are you asking me in terms of dealing with the mass tort ones, or no? You're talking about regular MVA.
Well, just how do you deal with, I mean, you've got some seriously injured clients in the mass tort world who
Yes.
don't have any benefits.
Right.
And they may not be able to work. And so they're in the same situation as someone in a motor vehicle accident who has some benefits.
Right.
So how do you deal with the crisis of those
Oh,
clients?
the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Of those. Okay. Sorry, I just
No,
didn't.
that's okay.
So, oftentimes, at least in the mass torts that I'm working on, it's difficult because by the time they realize what has happened to them, basically the cause being a medical device, they may have been suffering for many, many years.
Right.
And some are in financial ruin already.
Right.
They've already tapped out on disability employment insurance.
Right.
And if they didn't have enough work experience sort of in the kitty, so to speak, to make them eligible for CPP disability,
Right.
they may have already missed out on that window of opportunity.
Right.
Because they have to have worked for certain quarters of the years prior to. So you're looking at, and depending on which province they're in.
Oh, I know.
That's
I
the
know.
other thing.
Oh, I know. This is across the country.
Because but for in Ontario, for example, there's the ODSP.
Yes.
There's the Trillium Drug Plan. So there
Ontario Works still available?
Well, no, for disability.
Okay.
It's ODSP.
Okay.
Yeah, Ontario Disability Support
Program.
Payments.
Right. Okay.
Our program. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a very different situation, and then
Absolutely.
and then trying to explain to, if they end up going on ODSP, and you settle their case, now it's like
You have to pay it
that's-
back.
So let's just take I just want to shift gears now.
Sure.
Okay. So you're talking about life experience. And I think we both had lots of life experience now.
Sure.
Now, and you and I have had to go travel together to conferences. With all your life experience, how come I've heard multiple stories of you forgetting your phone in Vegas hotel rooms, your glasses. I understand you just went to see your daughter who lives in Germany.
Yeah.
Lost your phone, lost your iPad on the plane.
Yeah.
What's up? What's up? Because I think you need a chaperone.
I'll start it this way. I am my mother's daughter.
Okay.
My husband has seen me in the future, and it's not a pretty picture.
Okay.
Yeah, I do some dumbass things for sure.
Don't need to bleep that out.
Yeah, no,
That's okay.
that one's fair comment.
Okay.
But I think, I don't know why, but For example, when I went on the trip to visit my daughter recently in Berlin, in Zurich, I was so organized. I was really organized getting off the plane. I had my iPad in the seat with me, but then I just forgot to put it in my bag and left it. Then when I got to her house, when I finally got to Berlin, I left my phone in the cab and realized it as soon as the cab had pulled away. So this is what my explanation is this, is that I arrived in Berlin and my brain arrived a day later.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So, like, no, I sometimes I amaze myself.
Okay, because you amazed me. We were traveling to Vegas. And just so everyone out there knows, Renee knows I'm asking her about this story.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were flying on WestJet, going to a conference, and Renee goes into the washroom with her purse and comes out quite a bit later. And like there's water coming out of her purse. And I still can't, like, I love telling the story to my wife.
Yes.
So exactly, explain to me, because I still don't understand how you got water, like filled your purse up with water.
The way I fly,
Yes.
or, if it's a really early morning flight,
Yes.
or even the way I come into the office, I will come in with no makeup on. I will, if I'm driving in, I put on my makeup in the car with my husband driving, though. With my husband driving. The only side effect is I get car sick. But other than that, so when I got to the airport early for that flight, I brought my makeup back. And so I went into the bathroom to put on my makeup. And my purse slid into the sink.
Right.
And the automatic faucet was activated by my purse.
And it just filled up.
And
huh?
it just, yes. And so I had a clean purse afterwards.
Do you remember, after you came out, you went to get a coffee, that I think you burnt the roof of your mouth on because it was scalding hot.
No, I didn't burn the roof of my mouth. The lid came off and I scalded my hand.
That's right.
Yes, they hadn't put the lid on properly.
That's right.
So on the flight, I did have my hand immersed in ice.
Yes, and just so everyone knows, Renee did not sue for the hot coffee. Though I did ask her, I recommended the documentary Hot Coffee for her to watch, and everyone should watch it. It's really good.
Yeah.
But the Vegas trips are always interesting because we're always dealing with American lawyers, and they are a different breed. And
yes, they are. I am of that ilk.
You are.
Well, at least the American part. I was never an American lawyer.
No, but as my wife says, you can tell someone to bleep off in the nicest way, and no one will ever think you're mad. And that is a skill.
Butter would not melt in my mouth.
So let's go back to some of our client stories.
Yeah. Okay, you tell me some stories.
Oh gosh, one of my favorite stories, and I remember a U.S. lawyer saying this at a conference, like, you can't hug your clients anymore because it's just the way the world is.
You know what? I hug mine.
Yeah, but
when they offer it,
right.
I take it.
But I remember, and this actually was one of my. We acted for this lady on a mass tort case. Lovely lady from Belleville, and I'll never forget. And we had moved over here. We were here when we settled the case.
In this location.
Yeah. At this firm, after I left my old firm, and she came in to get her check. And gave me a hug, and then gave my law clerk Ryan a hug, and just cried in Ryan's arms, because Ryan's super with the clients, and it made me really feel that we did something for this lady, that we listened to her, we got her compensation, and she appreciated what we did, and everything we could do. And unfortunately, it's it doesn't always end that way. And because every relationship's different with clients. Some you become very close with, And there are others, and it doesn't change the way you work for them or the result you want to get for them.
Right.
But when they show that kind of just sort of love and appreciation, it just makes you feel like, all right, that's why I did it. I mean, the one that still makes me cry. And I hope
You're going to cry now?
I might.
Uh-huh.
Because my wife cried when this happened. So this would have been 2014, 2015. And this poor lady, she was 36 years old and she was catastrophically injured from the medical device that she had.
Yes.
She had more surgeries than anyone I'd ever come across. And she had 4 kids. She lived out in Alberta. And we had settled her case, but the money wasn't coming for a couple months.
Okay.
So she asked if we could advance a small amount. And we did. And so on Christmas morning, I got a text saying, but for you guys, the kids would not have Christmas presents.
Right.
But it got even better. After the case was settled, she came to Toronto with her husband and the kids, and they had another kid with them. I said, who's this? This is my sister's kid who we adopted because we could afford to now. Her sister had fallen victim to opioid addiction.
Right.
The kid was going to be in foster care. And because they had this money, they were able to adopt the child and give her a life. And that...
You sure don't hear a story like that very often.
No, and that's one that was just amazing. Like that I got teary-eyed, and I'm not teary-eyed now. Maybe that's because of time passing, but
right.
But it was just such a wonderful thing that, not only did we help this lady have a better life, but she was now giving it to a kid who knows what would have happened. And that's...
That foster system is...
Oh gosh, I know. It's...
wrought with issues and difficulties.
And to hear, and when you hear about people falling to addiction, I think we know a lot more about addiction now. That it's not about a social issue. It's not about demographic. It can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime. I've met addicts who are lawyers, doctors, professionals, whatever, and addicts who are just off the street, right? And we've all seen them, and it's horrible, and what's happened in this world, and but be able to help some people that way, that was really, really good. Now, you've talked about being a nurse.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Now, you went to nursing school when I was in high school.
Ha ha ha.
Well, no, you.
Yeah.
So,
no, I mean.
So you did.
I would. Yeah.
So now, let me ask. Nursing school, is that straight out of high school in the States? So you did undergrad and then went to nursing school?
No, you don't have to. It's an undergrad degree.
Oh, okay.
So I when I was 21, I went to university. I had already
What school did you go to?
I went to Middle Tennessee State University.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
The moccasins.
Yeah.
Yes, I only know that because I'm a basketball fan.
I didn't even know that, but I'm agreeing with you. But yeah, so I already had 2 kids. I was married. I had 2 kids, and they were 4 and 2. And so I went to nursing school, and back then you didn't have to get a 4-year degree to be fully qualified as a registered nurse.
Okay.
And I had little kids.
Yeah.
And a marriage that was falling apart.
Yeah.
Truth be told. So it was a 2.5-year straight through. Summers. Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yes.
While you were at Middle Tennessee State,
Yes.
2.5 years.
Yes.
Did you take the kids to the sorority parties?
I was not partying with the sororities.
Okay.
In fact, I remember being so nervous that I was too afraid to even go into the cafeteria.
When you started or throughout?
No, when I started.
Okay.
Oh my God, I was so nervous. I was so nervous.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I had 2 kids, and I was the same age as these kids. You know, like I just had a different life path, and I hadn't been hanging out with people my age for a while.
And you're married, so you're not looking for a boyfriend at school.
So I was just nervous. I lived in married student housing on campus.
You lived in what?
Married student housing.
So where was the school located?
In Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
And how far is that from Nashville?
About 45 minutes to an hour at the most.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But so we lived in Brico block.
Okay.
Wall.
Yeah.
Everything was cement.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. And one of my kids fell out of the bunk bed and knocked her teeth loose. You know, like it was nothing. It was like,
Which daughter?
The youngest one. She still has her teeth.
Okay.
I'm happy to report.
Okay. Very good. And so after once you finished school, you went right into nursing?
Yes.
Right, and you found a job?
Oh, yeah. I worked at Vanderbilt University Medical Center on a surgical floor.
Oh, really? So before you did case management stuff, you were in surgery?
Oh, yes. And so I really didn't stay working in the hospital for very long because I was divorced at that point.
So how old were you at that point?
23. So I had a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old at that point. And I lived in Murfreesboro still, and there was a commute. So I just, it was really hard because I'd get up at 4:30 in the morning and I'd carry the kids over and put them on the neighbor's couch because
Seriously?
I needed somebody to watch them while I went off to work. And then she would take them to Montessori school,
right.
With her child.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I just did that, and then that's why I ultimately decided to get into case management, because it was something that I had a lot more flexibility.
Right.
And it really, I was grateful to God that I could get that job.
Sure.
Because it made it possible for me to be there for the kids,
right.
but still be able to make a very good living.
So that was a 9 to 5 job, more or less?
Yeah, I mean...
More or less.
Doing a lot of reports at night, but...
Right, but you weren't going to the hospital
No, it wasn't hands-on care, it was coordination of care.
Okay.
It was case management for catastrophic injuries, the spinal cord injuries and traumatic brain injuries, reintegrating the individual into society, having their homes renovated, having their, all the things that we do here,
right.
That case managers do here, I was doing in Nashville.
So when you came out of law school, you articled, whatever, did you know when you went to law school, I'm going to do personal injury? Whether it's a plaintiff side or defense side, I'm going to be in that area, because that was not my path at all.
Yeah. I just was desperate to get an articling job of any kind.
Yep.
I had lots of interviews and I had lots of offers, thank goodness. But I didn't get an offer at a plaintiff firm, so I started a defense firm.
Right. Okay.
And so, but it really didn't take me long to realize that this was not the side of the table that I wanted to be on.
You look better in white.
Yeah, exactly. But it's really easy, as my experience. I'm not saying every defense lawyer feels this way, but my experience is that it was much easier for me to attack a case.
Sure.
To tear it down versus build it up.
Right.
And there, it just, frankly, it doesn't feel good attacking people personally, and it's personal for them. It's personal for them, and my experience was it was kind of a thankless situation. Even when you had gotten what your client, the insurance companies, thought was a good result. It was just there was no thank you, there was no anything. It was just move on, and there was no personal satisfaction for me in doing that kind of work. So I was really happy when I had the opportunity to come over to Howie Sachs
Right.
and use my nursing experience to.
Sure. I mean, you've got a huge advantage.
Well,
Yeah.
it's been, I have to say, those interpersonal skills
Yeah.
that I learned as a nurse and a case manager.
for sure.
I think case management is when I really learned those
Mm-hmm.
kinds of skills. That that makes a huge difference in my ability to help my clients.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. And I mean, the fact that you can read a medical report, you understand the medicine, you understand the injuries, when they're using the medical terminology, where some of us early on were stopping and looking all these terms up.
Right,
and it would
right.
take a long time to get through that. As a plaintiff's lawyer, though, do you, there's such a difference between a plaintiff and defense lawyer, because a defense lawyer is always just reacting.
Yep.
Do you find it hard always having to push and push and push?
I think when I was learning how to be a plaintiff lawyer, it was hard because there was a lot of moving parts that you had to be aware of. It wasn't what was happening today in a file.
Right.
It's planning for the future, right? So now, I mean, with all my years of experience, I have a system in place. I mean, I think our law firm in general, we all work off the same platform of practice management. And, at each stage of the litigation, I know what the next step is. My clerks know, and we know how to put it in place.
Right.
So it's a very proactive process of planning ahead. When a difficulty or an issue arises that must be addressed, that could not necessarily jeopardize the litigation, but may have a negative impact on it.
Right.
It's knowing how to strategize around that process to get the best outcome.
So when you sort of made your transition to plaintiff,
Right.
you had mentors here.
Oh gosh, yeah. I had incredible mentors and teachers.
Right.
I juniored for Adam Wagman.
Right.
And for David Levy.
Right.
And I knew enough to be dangerous, is what I say. There was so much I did not know, and they walked me through, and they taught me, from the foundation, at each step of the way, and they listened to what I had to, what my point of view was on things. Where maybe my nursing experience was an added information, but they built my confidence through trial and error, and if I made mistakes, it was, this is how you learn from it, this is what you do, and it was a build up.
Your mistake never got a case thrown out.
Oh gosh, no.
Right.
No.
And so now that you're now more senior.
Yes, I'm senior.
You're senior, a partner, and now listen, we all have mentoring responsibilities. Do you think, and I'm talking about the legal community as a whole, are we doing enough to mentor our juniors? I mean, and I say this because you come across juniors on other sides of cases. So I'm interested to know if you think, is the profession doing enough? And is the profession doing enough since COVID?
Well, I think COVID had the most negative impact on young lawyers.
Right.
I mean, I don't think that they've had anywhere near the amount of mentoring that they would have experienced if they had stayed in the office.
Right.
And if we had not worked from home to the extent that we did through COVID.
Right.
But even now, I think not being in person for discoveries, not being in person for mediations.
Right. Even for court, to be on Zoom for court.
For sure. But there's something about when you're when you've got someone you can bounce things off of in real time,
Right.
like go down the hall and you've got
Right.
somebody you can talk to.
And I'm sure you experienced this when you were at your defense firm, when you were here early on. My experience at other places, even here, the best learning was at 4:30, 5 o'clock, you walk by, there's 2 or 3 lawyers talking in an office, and suddenly this larger conversation, and you're included in it, and you feel part of it, and you're like, oh, wow, and that's lost right now. That's sad.
Well, what we did here at Howie Sachs,
Yeah.
and they did it long before I came,
Yeah.
but they continued it. We had lunchtime coffee
Right.
at Tim Hortons,
Right.
and whoever could come, they came, and
Yeah.
and it was several times a week that
Sure.
you went to coffee,
Oh, yeah.
and that was a wonderful opportunity.
Well, I remember because my old firm was in the same building as Howie Sachs in the early 2000s before Howie Sachs moved here. And we'd all have lunch at 401 Bay Street
Yep.
on the 8th floor.
Yep.
And when the Howie Sachs guys walked in, you knew they were there.
Yep.
And, they all got their food. And then there was one guy who I didn't know at the time with his brown paper bag. That was David Levy.
That's right. His wife packed him the
His
best
wife packed
lunches.
his lunch, that's
Yep.
right. But they would always have lunch together.
Yeah.
And I always, I was always fascinated by that. And when I came over and joined the firm, I talked to probably you and David and Mike, and it was like, oh yeah, we would have lunches together, and that's the way we kept up on everything, and it was really effective. And we've lost that a bit, and that's
Yeah, and I don't know how we get it back.
yeah, I don't know. I mean,
I know
we've got I hope that our juniors, the juniors want to be at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess what you don't know, and that falls on us to try and change that atmosphere. But again, if the whole downtown legal community is 2 days a week or 3 days a week, there's not much we can do.
it's a new environment,
Yeah.
and we have to adapt to it. But I don't know. I think we're trying to adapt.
We
I
are.
think. I mean, I spend a lot of time with my associate, and mentoring and just teaching him the practice of law.
That's right. Well, I know the lawyer I mentor, she says, I don't know what I'm doing. I said, well, join the club.
Yeah,
It
right.
takes 3 to 4 years minimum to really get a hold of what you're doing. And once she gets to a team, because she works for everyone, she'll get a better idea.
Yeah, and I think that the key thing for a junior lawyer to understand is ask.
Right.
Talk to people. Don't go around thinking you know what the answer is. Ask. So what? It's no stupid question, but so what if they say, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But they may have an extra pointer that you might not have thought of. It's an opportunity to grow.
That's right, and it's an opportunity just to interact, and it's different personalities. So we've been at this for a little while now, so I think we're going to wrap up, and hopefully when we do the next episode, on behalf of Renee, I'm Paul, and thanks for tuning in, and you can get us on wherever you get all your podcasts, Spotify, Apple, wherever. Thanks for joining us.
And like, share, and subscribe.
And like, share, and subscribe.
There you go. Thank you.